Meditation is the most important skill. Let me explain. My name is Sunny. I've meditated over 1,200 times. I've been doing it for almost 6 years now. And I also have an online business. It's a marketing agency and an AI startup that I'm launching very soon. And I live in Bangkok. I'm about to be in Bali in a few weeks. I'm pretty free. I don't have a crazy amount of money yet, but I have enough that I can travel around the world, live wherever I want, and I don't have many meetings, right? So when I say that meditation is the most important skill, I'm not saying it as someone who lives as a monk in a forest or is dedicating their whole life to meditation, spirituality. Like, I have all respect for that type of person, but I'm giving you my perspective as someone who's a builder, someone who is creating value in these companies, in these tools. I advise a lot of different companies and types of people as well. But I still think that meditation is the most important skill that I've developed over all these years. And I've developed many different skills, even stuff in personal development, like health, like working out, like doing cardio and learning about macros and food. Those things are very, very important, I will say. And I've also learned professional skills. Like, I know how to advertise really, really well. I'm great at Meta ads, great at Google ads, Reddit ads, and this literally creates money for people. Like, for the companies that I advise in the marketing agency, they are literally giving me money, and my decisions are making them more money from that amount of money, and that's why I'm getting paid. And yet, I still would say meditation is the most important skill that I've developed. No other skills, maybe I have to give some caveats here, because health is like kind of getting there, like if you eat like only, that My Strange Addiction show, there's this one woman who just ate, was it cheesy potatoes? This one woman only ate cheesy potatoes for her entire diet, and I think she eventually passed away, unfortunately. But that is more important than meditation. Like, you need some baseline level of skill to have some survival instincts. But putting away all the dumb excuses aside, right? The point of this is that I'm emphasizing that meditation is an extremely powerful skill. Most people, when they think of meditation, they think of staying calm, reducing stress. And most of my friends, they're not very stressed or anxious people. And so it's very hard for me to sell them on the idea of meditation. But what I would really love to get across to these guys is it's not just about stress reduction. That's a huge one, and for most people, they actually do deal with stress and anxiety, and meditation is a great way to become more present, calm, joyful. But meditation does a lot more than just calm you down. I actually see it now as a cognitive enhancer. I feel as though I have higher quality ideas because of my ongoing meditation practice and what it's brought me over these last years, especially in the age of AI. These days, AI can make anything. It can make images, videos, it can make ads, it can make websites, it can make apps, and more than that, not even creating things. When you use ChatGPT or Claude or these AI tools in a business setting, you're having it do some sort of task for you, right? You're having it write some sort of thing, you're having it do something. The most important part of that process is whatever you're prompting it to do, right? Because it's just listening to you and it's executing on that task. Where does your prompting come from? It's a weird question, right? Because you're probably saying it comes from me. I'm deciding what to type into the laptop, obviously. What do you even mean? But where does the quality of your input come from is the better question. Right? If you were really sleep deprived and you literally just pulled an all-nighter and then you went onto an AI tool for your work and you start typing into it, you're going to get worse results, right? Than if you did it right now, how you feel right now. And so depending on your state, you get different levels of input, different quality of inputs into the AI tools. Meditation, what I've found it to do for me over the years is I have a higher likelihood of having a more creative prompt that is able to think about more orders of consequence for what that input is. And so instead of just thinking about what this one execution of this prompt is going to do for me today, I can now think a lot longer term and think about how it's impacting a greater system for these decisions that I'm making. That's the real power of meditation, is higher quality thought, higher quality cognition. You are literally able to raise your intelligence and IQ. And you might be wondering, you might not believe me, honestly, because it's a big claim to say that, right? And I'm not going to lie, if you just meditate this week, you probably won't feel this effect immediately. You will feel less stressed, you will feel more calm, which will probably show up with some benefits. But what I'm talking about is over a longer sustained period, the benefits you get from a consistent meditation practice. And so even if you don't believe me, let me explain why I believe that this is happening. And maybe I can sell you so you actually get consistent on this. Because the hardest part of the meditation practice, I find, like getting my friends on it and getting other people on it, is like no one has that drive to just like keep it going. It's like you go to the gym because you want to look better, you want to be healthier. They tell you that it's going to increase the amount of time you have to live. And so it's a lot easier to be motivated for that. And you see other people there and you want to like compete. Like there's so many reasons that the gym can be fun to be consistent with. Meditation, it's like you gotta sit there in your home every day. No one's watching, no one's asking you if you're doing it. Like it's purely you versus you having to do this habit, right? Here's why I believe meditation leads to cognitive enhancement. What is meditation? There's a few different types of there, right? Like there's many different types of meditation. The most common one that people do is focusing on your breath. And so for 10 minutes straight, you have the timer set. You close your eyes. You're breathing, right? And you're keeping your attention on that sensation of breath. Some people will choose to just do it on the entire sensation. Some people will focus on their nose, their stomach, their chest, wherever they feel the sensation, stick to that point. And throughout the practice, what ends up happening, especially if you're new to meditation, is that you will immediately be thrown into a thought. You're trying to focus on that sensation, but then randomly you're just distracted. You start thinking about, like what you're going to eat in your next meal. You start thinking about some random conversation you had with a friend. You start thinking about like the best solution to like an argument that you had the day before that you wish that you thought of in that moment, but now it's coming up now. And so now you're like, fuck, like I wish I thought about that. But then you're like, oh wait, I'm supposed to be meditating. And when you recognize that you're in this thought, you come back to your breath. And that's usually how meditation goes. That keeps happening. You go to your thoughts, you come back to your breath, thoughts, back to your breath. If you get a bit more advanced, then that time starts to expand for the amount of time that you can stick to that sensation without getting distracted. You also, as you get more advanced, you start to recognize that you're thinking a lot quicker and you can return back to your breath. And what happens after this, right? Like that's the meditation practice. You just did your 10 minutes. What's the effect for the rest of the day? You end up having less distractions. You end up being more focused, more calm. Distraction is a very interesting one there because let's say that you do that 10-minute practice and then you go and you have to sit down for work for 2 hours straight, let's say. When you're sitting there and your eyes are glued to a screen and you have a task that you need to do, you end up just more easily being able to immerse and focus and get the work done because you just trained your brain to be able to stick to a point, right? You just trained your nervous system. Oh, when you go to thoughts, come back to that. Thoughts, come back to that. And so your whole body and system are just used to sticking to a sensation. And so work becomes more single-pointed. Now, what I've observed is that this doesn't just happen with you versus this work, you versus the screen, but this also happens in terms of how your thinking process works, right? And so let's say that we had two different types of business owners, right? Two people who, let's say, ran like an ice cream shop and they're running ads to the ice cream shop. All right. Business owner one just spent $1,000 on ads and saw that nothing came of it. Like no people showed up to the ice cream shop. Business owner two, same exact situation. Spent $1,000, not a single person showed up to the ice cream store. That first business owner, when he sees this, he gets so upset. He's like, "Fuck, I just wasted $1,000. Like, this is terrible. Like what is happening? Like, I just wasted that money. Now I got to like go recoup this. And so they take a ton of actions. They go fast. They turn off the ads. They go and then they start putting up billboards outside, like big signs, like trying to get people to come to the ice cream shop because they're like, I need sales now. I need to fix this. Business owner 2, he's actually a lot more calm. And he sees that and he starts to get frustrated. He starts to get annoyed because he's like, oh, fuck, I just wasted $1,000. But he recognizes that he's in that emotional state. He has some level of awareness that he's having that emotion. And he's like, all right, let me calm down. And so he takes some deep breaths. He goes on a walk. He talks to his wife. He does things that, can calm him down. And maybe 30 minutes, an hour later, eats some food. He comes back to the ads. And he's like, all right, let me figure out like what's actually happening here. And he deciphers the ads and he actually finds a mistake. And he's like, oh shit, like if I just like tweak this and this would actually be helpful here. And this would actually fix the ads themselves. So he goes, he makes that tweak, he makes a few adjustments, and he lets the money spend. And he obviously now made some productive work. And now the ads are working and people are coming and they're getting ice cream, right? So this is one example where if you have that increased emotional control, then you'll be less likely to be at the mercy of these emotional, irrational states that can lead you to do less intelligent actions. And so having that tool is very useful in that point. That's level 1. There's another level here, which I want to get into, which is really interesting, which is that what I've noticed in certain CEOs and certain like professional people is that when there's an exciting idea, the more emotional person is more likely to latch onto that idea, get super excited about it, and try to make it happen. In the same way that first business owner, he got emotional in a sad way and in a more upset way and like took some irrational actions, just like tried to do things quickly. In the same way, it actually happens for positive things too. Like if someone came up to that first business owner and told him, I have the greatest idea for you. I have the greatest way to get more people to the ice cream shop. Like we're going to do a plane billboard. What are those called? Like streamers? Like whatever is in the back of the planes and it has like the ad for the company. We're going to have this type of thing and it's going to throw out ice cream cones with ice cream from the plane. And so everyone on the ground is going to experience your ice cream. This is a stupid example, but just imagine the guy, like the business owner, he hears that and he gets excited and he's like, whoa, like this is a really good idea. Like this is huge. This could help me. This is going to solve everything. And he's like, all right, bet, let's do it. It's like the emotion of the excitement and the joy of this idea almost overtakes him. And it removes the ability to have that rational cognition. Business owner 2, that guy comes over and he's like, yo, like we got this like plain billboard, ice cream cones, everyone will be happy. This guy gets excited as well. And he's like, whoa, like that's like really cool. But then he has that awareness, like meditation really builds that awareness of being like, oh, this is a emotional state. Like I'm recognizing this is happening. And then that second person is able to really calm themselves down in the moment, or at least recognize it enough to say, let me think about this a bit. And then he goes and he does the math out and he's like, okay, this is actually just such a large amount of ice cream cones that we're going to lose doing this. We cannot do this. I'm sorry, no deal. And he says no, and he ends up making the better decision that day, right? And so how this compounds, though, is that over time, that person who is able to make less emotional decisions and channel more of their rational thought into everyday decisions will compound, because you make so many decisions every day, especially if you're building a business and you're building a product. You need to make so many decisions. And when you're less likely to go after those emotional highs and be less affected by those emotional lows, you end up being more likely to be taking the correct decisions, the things that are at least your best intelligence is able to make in that moment. And that compounds over time. And so it's like, you're not exactly, it is a cognitive enhancement when you look at it from a far enough lens, right? Like in the moment, you're actually just using your highest level of intelligence. But it's like if you compare that to a more emotional version of yourself, then yeah, you have a higher level of cognition. Meditation's actually making you smarter over time. You can also use other tools. Like breath work is really important. Just before this, like an hour ago, I did 20 minutes of breath work, then about 20 minutes of meditation. It can be good to do yoga before the breath work. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Even doing prayer or like any of these sort of techniques, like I think we all in our own religions or whatever we grew up with or whatever we're aware of, like there's tons of different ways to do this. The important thing is to have some sort of mindfulness practice. And it will literally raise your cognition over time. I swear to God, trust me on this. Start meditating every day for 20 minutes a day. If you can, get it to 2 20-minute sessions. Here and there, throw in days where you have a lot more, and you will not regret it. I promise you. Trust me on this. Trust me. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.